In studio here this morning. Sorry you guys had to sit through all of that. But,
no problem.
Katie Briggs O'Donnell is in studio along with her dad, Dave. Guys, good morning.
Good morning.
And, okay, so Katie, you, 10 years ago, went through a liver transplant.
I did, yep.
Wow. And I'm really curious. We'll get into, I have questions about that. So, this, now 10 years later, you are planning an event this weekend, and it's your Pay It Forward party. Talk about that.
So we are hosting a Pay It Forward fundraiser to raise money for the transplant department at Strong Hospital where I had my transplant, and then also for money for the Ronald McDonald House in Rochester where my family stayed when I was in the hospital. And
Dave, I'm assuming that was big.
It was very big.
Yeah.
You don't realize how important it is to have some place to go to get away.
Yeah.
And what we were going through was one thing, but I noticed we got bounced around the hospital a lot just because they needed beds. And we stayed on the peds ward one time, and I'll tell you what, those families that stayed there, babies are always crying, and just it's a good place to get away and get your faculties back together.
So how old were you when...
I was 18.
18. How old were you when you discovered you had a problem?
I was 18.
Really?
I was away in college. I went to Roberts Wesleyan College out in Rochester. And my first year I had just started. And in end of September, beginning of October, I just wasn't feeling 100%. Columbus Day weekend, I went home. My mom said, "Your eyes look a little yellow." I said, "I thought the same thing, but brush it off." By the end of the weekend, I was feeling awful. Went back to school and ignored it, and then finally couldn't ignore it anymore. I was admitted into the hospital, and they tested me for everything, and couldn't figure out what it was. So the one hospital transferred me to Strong, and they diagnosed me with Wilson's disease, which is a liver disease where your liver can't metabolize the copper that comes into your system, so it just builds up. And
it had been building up and you didn't know?
My entire life, and didn't know. It's a genetic disease where both of your parents have to have the recessive trait for it to be passed on, so it's really rare. And they told me I wouldn't need a transplant until I was 40 and I'd be fine, just take this medicine. A week later, I was put at the top of the transplant list.
Wow.
And I was put on the list. The next day, I was put at the top of the list, and 3 days later, I was transplanted.
Dave, I can't imagine. I can't imagine what she went through, but I certainly can't imagine what you guys went through.
It was very tough.
Yeah.
One of the things I remember is as she was getting taken down to surgery, she just looking up at me and say, "Daddy, I just want this over," and it was just break your heart. But it was, like she said, you went from sometime in your life you might need a liver transplant to, this is happening and this is real, and you don't realize what you take for granted until you go through something like that.
Wow.
I've never heard of this before. Is it Wilson disease?
Wilson's, yep.
Well, it's rare, right? I mean,
yeah. Did you even know you had the gene?
No. And they said it was one in a million that she would get it, and it is the odds are like phenomenal against any of my other children getting it. Well, my daughter Jessie, she has it, and because of Katie and what she went through, they tested everybody, and now Jessie knows what she can do and what she can't do to take.
So are there ways if you know that you could prevent? Okay.
Yeah, there's your diet is very restrictive. I know Katie knows it better than I do, and Jessie knows it. But you wouldn't believe the things that copper's in.
I wanted to ask, what has copper in it?
There you go.
Chocolate. Yep. Dill pickles, which are like my favorite thing in the whole world. I would eat them by the jar.
I was feeding her dill pickles in the hospital. I'd go down into the cafeteria and get a whole thing of dill pickles, not knowing that not helping her out at all.
Right.
Wow.
It's in seafood. It's in wheat products. Just a lot of...
Just trace amounts?
Yeah.
But enough where over time trace amounts become a real problem for you.
Yep.
Now, does this liver correct the problem, or do you still have to...
So I don't have the disease anymore. It left with the old liver.
Okay. Wow. All right. And the other thing... I've known people who've gone through transplants, and 10 years ago. I mean, I'm sure we're better at it today than we were 10 years ago. And I know someone who actually just did not do very well at all. So your body has to accept this, and how was it for you? Does it mean medicine you have to take, procedures you have to do for the rest of your life? Or are you just back together and all new?
Well, there's a lot of medication. When I first came home after my transplant, they said if I didn't receive my transplant the day I did, I had about 24 hours left before I would have been untransplantable. So it was pretty crazy. So, but then I was home. Was it 5 days after my transplant? They sent me home.
The events were phenomenal. She went into surgery Tuesday night at 9 o'clock, came out Wednesday morning at 3, and that Wednesday evening she did a lap around the nurse's station.
Wow!
I mean, and it was immediate. The yellow, everything was gone as soon as she came out of surgery.
Wow.
So
and think about how quickly all of this came from when you first discovered. This all happened so fast.
I
think I'd like it better that way, to be honest. Let's not have a year or 2 years to sit around and worry about it.
The surgeon that did the operation asked us in the waiting room, well, how long has your daughter been sick for? And I said, well, about a month. He goes, oh, no, she's had this disease all her life. She's had to been ill for a long time. And it's like the other doctor that was there was like, no, it's been about a month.
Wow. Okay. So
sorry to go off on that tangent.
No, it's important.
So medication-wise, I was like on 15 pills in the morning and 18 pills at night.
Wow.
But now well, not right now. Back at the beginning of the year, I was only on 1 pill twice a day.
Wow.
Which was really great. They lowered me on everything. But in March, I started going through rejection for the first time. So that's been kind of scary. I'm on more medication now because of that. So high doses of prednisone, which makes you miserable. I don't know if you know prednisone, but it's an awful steroid. Makes you miserable.
Wife. Yeah, she's...
Sorry.
There's always a common connection. So she's sleeping, I can say.
Okay. So right now I'm going through rejection, but I just have to be careful about the like staying away from people who are sick. That was kind of difficult because I was a teacher. So I was teaching pre-K through 8th grade music, and so I was around Jeremy kids all the time. But it wasn't. I haven't had any huge issues. Just blood work done pretty frequently. Yeah.
Are you still teaching?
I actually am not right now. My husband and I, we lived in Maryland for 3 years. 3 years he was stationed at Andrews Air Force Base.
Okay. Wow.
And when we moved home, I did a little bit of substitute teaching here. But right now, I am the program coordinator for Houghton College Utica that just opened in downtown.
Really cool.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Good for you. Okay, so let's talk about your event on Sunday. It'll be at the American Legion of Mohawk, and noon till 5. And what do you want people to do? So.
Just come and have a good time. Our goal is to raise $10,000 for to go between the transplant department and Ronald McDonald House in Rochester. Tickets are available at the door. They're $15 per person, $25 for a couple, and children 10 and under are free. We have so much food. It's supposed to be cold on Sunday, so we have a lot of comfort food, actually, which is going to be nice.
Work very well.
So we have a ton of food, a lot of Chinese auction baskets, some big ticket items that are just starting to kind of pour in. If you heat your house with pellets or coal, we have half a ton of your choice coal or pellets.
Wow, that's big.
Donated by, was it Mohawk Heart and Health or Heart and
Herkimer.
Hearth and Homes.
Thank you, Hearth and Homes. Yep. Thank you. Sorry. Security camera system donated. Just a lot of really great things. Right. We're gonna have music, and just the goal. If we don't hit the goal of $10,000, as long as we were able to raise awareness of organ and tissue donation. My anniversary was actually this past Monday and Tuesday, and. Around this time, I think a lot about my donor and just the choices that his family made, you know. And I've been trying to get in touch with them, but they've moved since my transplant.
Yeah, I guess you don't think about that, but there's someone that gave you life that had passed away. Yep. So that's big. Yeah,
and the Donate Life people are going to be at the benefit. So
okay, awesome.
So you can sign up right there to be an organ donor.
All right, very cool. Well, listen, Katie, it's awesome, and it's your Pay It Forward party, And it's this weekend. Details we'll put up on our website. There's also a GoFundMe page. If people can't make it, they could donate through that as well.
Yes, that'd be great. Yeah.
Cool. All right, guys. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
And good luck with everything.
Thank you so much.
All right.